All right, hey, what's up, guys? Coach Mac, Play Fast Football. All right, today we're going to do a little bit of a video on tight front and why it gives some things issue, especially gap schemes. We are currently working our gap schemes in the spring, and I'm just going to go through how the tight front kind of affects those rules a little bit, the adjustments you might make, and why you would have to make them. Make sure you check out some of our sponsors. Dome Hats, a headwear sponsor. We use Play Fast and the school I'm currently at. Here's one of our Orange Park football hats, Raiders on the front. Snapback, you can change the style of the hat. This has orange eyelets and a gray button, orange stitching. You can change the stitching, the panels, different colors, different hats, different style hats. Everything is customizable. They have an amazing online hat builder that you can check out to customize your own hat. Every hat has a story. Make sure you use Dome to help you tell the story of your hat. Baker Sporting Goods, company I use for our player spirit packs. Our uniforms are distributed by them. My coach's gear is distributed by them. This shirt for the Play Fast Clinic last year was made by Baker Sporting Goods. If we do any online team stores, we use Baker Sporting Goods, so make sure you check them out. Just Play Football. Digital software bringing your program to the next level. Unique features like quizzes for your playbook and your game plans that really help you understand what your players know about your playbook and the game plans. Rather than just having standard meetings, you can have quizzes on your playbook. It's the best play drawing tool on the market. It's the one I use when I'm going to speak at clinics or do webinars. GameStrat sideline replay system we use here at Orange Park High School. If you're looking for highly reliable, highly affordable sideline replay system, check out GameStrat. DifferenceUSA, the ultimate striking machine. Get thousands of reps without needing a partner, in season, out of season. Hook one up in your weight room, hook one up on the practice field. It's the only machine that you'll need to work on striking over and over again, to get elbows in, thumbs up. Make sure you're doing all the things to understand how to properly strike. Change the tension. Coils have different tensions as the kids get better, bigger, stronger. You can change the coil. It makes it harder to let the pad in. HighandTight ball security training aid. All right, that is for, you can use it with skill players, anybody that has to carry a ball. The ball has to be held in a proper position, all right, with the wrist above the elbow, proper points of pressure. It has sensors inside of each panel. When you hold the ball correctly with the proper points of pressure and you have it in the right position, the ball will beep. You will hear, or your players will hear, that auditory beep. You know you got it in the right position. If you're going through a drill and you lose the beep, that means at some point the points of pressure are not right. All right, you don't have it in the right position. You've lost something along the line. So if you have the beep and you lose it, that means while you're running or doing a drill, you've lost the ball security position. So make sure you check out HighandTight. StandPerfect, a training aid to build consistent, reliable stances for your players. We use them with our receivers. We use them with our DBs. We use them with our offensive and defensive line. We use them in drills where we're looking to get kids on a scout team lined up, not only to work on their stance, but to get them lined up. So if I'm doing a half line drill with receivers, I put the StandPerfect in the slot. I put the StandPerfect out wide. Every time they read the scout card, when you go out there, that's where you line up, but it's also where your feet go, so you understand how to get your inside foot up, get in a proper stance. You can use it for baseball, softball, golf, football. There's so many different ways you could use the StandPerfects. Check them out at StandPerfect.com. All right, so, you know, the tight front has been a little bit of the craze lately, the last probably 2 years, especially this last year, with all the stuff that Iowa State was doing and a lot of the odd teams that are doing now. And for us as a gap scheme team, right now in the spring, we have installed our gap schemes. We've installed power counter. We've got a counter play that is a GY or a GF counter, and then we've got a GT counter also. So what happens with the tight front is it creates, in my opinion, two issues. All right, the idea behind the tight front is to take away interior gaps and to make the ball bounce wider to free hitters or secondary players or players that are hard for the offense to block. But the fact that there's someone on the center right away creates a little bit of a problem, because usually in gap schemes you're using the center to back block. All right, and now with somebody on the center, you've either got to, all right, double team with the center and work backside, or if you're going to use straight back blocks, it's hard to get to the linebackers at the second level because you're going to lose somebody. If the center blocks back on the 4-eye on a power play, you kind of lose that backside tackle depending on what you're trying to do. So to hinge a 4-eye and block the center back really doesn't make sense. But the toughest block, you know, when you're running a power play, you have to know that you can get this backside 4-eye cut off. If you're like us, our power plays are tied to RPOs on the front side, so we're not reading anybody on the backside. I know the first answer people would talk about all the time, all right, would be, you know, set the back on the other side, run power across the quarterback's face. All right, now you can pull the guard, you can double the nose back to the will, you can arc release the tackle, read the 4-eye. Yes, that's certainly an answer. We do not read the backside of our power plays. We're a front side read team, so we're either tied to RPOs or we're tied to toss power read. Okay, so when we're running a traditional power play, we need to cut off the 4-eye. So the first the first thing we look at is, can we cut off the 4-eye with the tackle and live in our normal power world with our power rules? Because I think in high school especially, one of the things you want to avoid is you don't want to all of a sudden have, you know, an intrinsic game plan just for the tight front that has different rules. You know, you may want to carry a dart play or a tackle wrap play or an inside fold play, but you may want to carry that in your scheme so that when you play a tight front team, all of a sudden you're not just recreating, but you're creating new plays just for the tight front. So especially in spring football, the most important thing for us right now is getting our system installed and getting our kids understanding the rules within the system. So right now we're a backside hinge team with the backside tackle. So first thing we've got to try and do is cut off that 4-eye and not block the center back so that we can get a double team on the nose to the backside will. All right, so that's the first thing we got to try. But we have to understand, based on the 4-eye we're playing and based on the leverage there and based on our offensive tackle, we may not be able to get the 4-eye cut off. All right, so the next theory is, do you block back with the center? If you block back with the center, what's going to happen is you're going to create all one-on-one blocks. So you're going to get a back block on the center, a down block on the nose, a down block on the 4-eye. Okay, and now when you go to pull the guard on the backside, now what do you do with the tackle? All right, if he's not going to hinge, if you're going to back block on the 4-eye, do you punch the tackle hinge in case the jack comes off the edge? All right, so now you've got a little bit of an issue. Not only do you have all one-on-one blocks, now you can't. It's tough to get to the backside will if they're playing you with a 5-man box. All right, and right now I've got Y off 2x2 drawn up. If they're playing you with a 5-man box, you're going to have problems getting to the backside will. Now, if it's a 4-man box and a 3-1 look, now you may be able to do it that way, and you could possibly arc release the tackle, see if he can get up on a backer that's walked out to the backside if they're a 3-high safety team or whatever they may be playing. But if you see a standard 3-4, defensive personnel group with a 5-man box versus this front, if you're down blocking everything, all right, now what's going to happen is you're going to lose the potential to get backside to the will. All right, one of the other things you can look at, depending on your tackles, is you could make this a tackle pull play now, which becomes a little bit of an addendum to your rules. So now versus this front, you may want to keep your double team there to the will, keep your down block on the 4-eye, leave the guard with leverage, now pull the tackle. Well, if this play is going to end up hitting outside the 4-eye, if we're not going to try and make it a tight A-gap play where we not only down block the 4-eye, but maybe we pull tight through there, and if the 4-eye's in there, we're going to knock the 4-eye out and not get to the front side backer. All right, that's a possibility. Or if it's a normal power play, now we use almost dart rules per se, okay, and now we make it almost like a tackle isolation play where we get the tackle pulled because we've got leverage on the backside. So right away within the power scheme, we got a couple choices to make. First choice for us right away, we're going to try and cut the 4-eye off with the tackle because that allows us to keep all of our rules intact with how we want to run the power play. So that if we get back to seeing an even front, or whether it's over, under, whatever it may be, all right, if it's a front that we can now handle with our base rules, okay, now we don't have to worry about making changes all the time. If we have to make the change where we make it the tackle pull, now we have to have a slight adjustment, and we've got to make it some type of, it really, in my opinion, it almost becomes very similar to a team that would be running pin-pull schemes like outside zone or wide zone with pin-pull rules on the front side, so that where you get the best leverage, you're going to get a down block and a puller out in front. Well, you're almost going to have to do the same thing with the power play, where you have to have some type of pin-pull rules on the backside so that if you get the tight front and the leverage is better for the tackle to pull, then you leave the guard on, okay, and now the tackle pulls. I've had some people tell me that they like to try and pull the center, okay. I don't have an issue with pulling the center if he's athletic enough to do it. What I have an issue with is we still have to get to the backside will. So if we down block the guard, down block the 4-eye, pull the center, okay, now we've got to work some type of combination on the backside 4-eye to the will. So we still got a little bit of an issue. We can't just climb. If we climb the guard straight to the will, it's the same issue cutting off the 4-eye that we have when the guard pulls. If we double the 4-eye, now we've got to work with, all right, some outside hand placement here. We've got to be able to help the tackle so he doesn't get beat, and then we've got to be able to climb to the will. So even though from a leverage standpoint, you like pulling the center because you get the down block from the guard and you can pull the center, that's great. But can you still get to the backside will if it's a 5-man box? Okay, so the 4-eyes, the presence of the 4-eyes they give you some issues to where you either have to adjust your scheme slightly or you've got to be able to run some different things against a tight front. Well, when you're in the spring and you're really focused on installing an offense and the operating procedure and what your kids are trying to do, I really don't want to put together a game plan for one spring game. All right, obviously we'll see the tight front. People argue and go, well, coach, if you put in a tight front game plan, then when you see the tight front next year, you'll have your game plan ready to go. And that's true, okay? But in the spring, I'm more worried about our operating procedure. We did a video last week when we talked about it. I'm worried about the tempos we're using, operating procedure, alignments, assignments, making sure everybody's getting where they belong. So I want to block the power in a traditional way, all right, because 6 to 7 times out of the year, I think I see more traditional style defenses than the newer of age tight front or, you know, bear looks or anything like that. So we want to teach our offense first. We want to teach our schemes first. But you definitely now, when you get into looking at what another team's going to run, and the only reason we have to look at this now is the team we're playing is probably going to run tight front stuff. Well, at some point I have to show my kids that just so they're ready for the game, but we're not really game planning for the tight front in the spring because I'm more worried about the 15 practices where we're just working on us before we get into a game plan. Okay, so for right now, we're going to try and cut the 4-eye off with the tackle. That's the first thing we're going to try. If we can't do that, I think our next adjustment would be pulling the tackle on a power play, not pulling the center, because I can still get a double team on the nose. All right, if I pull the tackle now, it's just going to be a matter of can the tackle get where I need him to get to. All right. Again, if I pull the tackle, we would probably be better off running A-gap power and cramming the tackle up inside and knocking the 4-eye out, which means we may not be able to get to the mic, but we're going to make it an issue where, all right, either we can hopefully get the mic over the top, all right, but we would make it some type of issue to where if we did it that way, we'd have 2 choices, all right? If we still try to block down, we could still possibly turn this into almost a bounce theory to where we can double the nose there, block the 4-eye down, slam through the 4-eye to the mic, leave the guard on, pull the tackle out wide, and make it almost look, in theory, it ends up looking slightly, all right, I know it's not guards, I know it's not buck sweep by nature, but it becomes almost a power play that's going to bounce outside with the tackle that's pulling. Okay, the only other option I think you might have is if you block out on the end man on the line or the 9 technique or the overhang, is now you may want to take that tackle because he's coming from so far and you may want to wrap him up in the A-gap, keep the power play tight, and if the 4-eye is in the A-gap or the B-gap, he comes in and knocks the heck out of it, and then you drive through from there. All right, and you keep the power play tight. Again, just the scenarios that we have to look at as a gap scheme team are okay, because going into the tight front, you've got some things that you need to look at, all right, with how you're going to do that. Our base way is hinged with the tackle. We're going to try and cut that 4-eye off. If we can't get there, then we've got to make an adjustment. I think our first adjustment will become pulling the tackle on the backside of the power play with the personnel that we have. All right, we also run counter. All right, and we run GY counter and GT counter. So it becomes an issue for us. It's the same deal, all right, kind of as the power play. What becomes an issue for us is now we still have to be able to do something with that backside 4-eye. By rule, we are a hinge team with the tackle. So if we're getting this front right here, okay, and they're giving us, all right, that structure, now when we go to run GT, it's going to be the same thing. We want to get a double on the nose back to there. We want to get the down block there. If we pull the guard to kick, and we try to use the tight end as a wrap player, all right, what's now going to happen is, with the leverage of the play, okay, what's now going to happen is we're going to have a hard time. We've got to be able to hinge and cut off this 4-eye within our base rules. That's how we teach the play. All right, so if we were to do that, okay, now within our base rules, how we teach the play, we've got to be able to hinge and cut off just like we do when we run the power play. Again, otherwise, what you end up with, okay, is you end up with a back block and a down block. So now you got 3 one-on-one blocks on the front level. You have no double teams whatsoever, okay? And now you've got to figure out what to do. Do you still hinge with that tackle in case the safety comes off the edge? And now you're going to end up with almost 2 wrappers, which I'm okay with because we're going to RPO when we run, all right, whether it be that or whatever the pattern that we're running with the RPO scheme is. When we run it, okay, now back to this weak side, what you're going to get is now there won't be anybody to kick because you down block the 4-eye, you down block the nose, and you back block the 4-eye. So now the first guy is going to probably end up on the force player. The second guy is going to end up on the inside backer. So numbers-wise, we're okay there. All right, numbers-wise, if we block the center back. But the problem is that's 3 one-on-one blocks that we have to win. Now, they're down blocks, and you're hoping with leverage your kid can win a down block. All right, but now the ball's probably going to bounce a little bit wider when we do that. Okay, and now it's going to become very similar to what we talked about on a power play. Your counters end up looking like these wide plays that almost bounce to be sweep plays, right? So, again, would it work? Would he be able to get there? Would you have to widen the split of the tight end a little bit? Could you not leave the guard backside and run, all right, TF or TY? So, back block on the 4-eye, double team the nose to get the double where you want at least one double. Back that, now you get this guard, the tackle to pull there, and the tight end to pull there. The problem is your tackle's got to be a really good athlete to now beat the Y to the spot, or you've got to adjust your alignment with the Y and get him a little bit wider, all right, so that he doesn't beat the tackle to the spot. Okay, again, some people would talk about pulling the center, all right, and now going center and tight end. Again, if you do that, I think the same issue you have if you pull the center. Yes, you will get a down block on the nose. Get a down block on the 4-eye. Now on the backside, I think the issue you have is you've got to get this scooped to the mic. So now that when you pull the center for that and the tight end for that, you still have to account for the jack and the wheel with the two pullers. So even if you pull the center because of the leverage, all right, now you're going to lose the double team on the nose and you're going to get just one down block there. You're going to get a down block on the front side, and now you need some type of scoop or possibly some type of fold scheme on the backside where you block the 4-eye out and you try and get the tackle under inclined to the mic, okay, on the counter play. So when you're running gap schemes, the tight front is going to give you certain issues, all right? It's what the front was made for. They're trying to bounce the ball wide. They're trying to take away interior gaps. But the fact that they play with those 4-eyes gives your standard gap scheme with a backside guard or a backside, whatever the pull may be. If a guard is pulling, now you're going to have a little bit of an issue, okay, because you're going to get into it where you're going to have to cut off the 4-eye, solo back block everybody, and maybe not get to a backside backer, okay. Use the tackle as a puller, and now on a power play, I think it's possible, but if you're running counter play with a Y or an F as a puller, I don't know if the tackle can beat them there. If you were a two-back team, you may want to kick with the F and wrap with the tackle. And now what happens is your gap schemes basically start to become tackle wrap dart plays or almost like tackle isolation plays. So the tight front causes a few issues for the standard gap schemes. Obviously, there's going to be wrinkles where you want to get the ball. You know, everybody says add a tight end, add somebody to the surface, pin pull, try and get the ball wide. Those things are all great as game plan issues. But if you got a situation where you are teaching your offense and your offense involves gap schemes, you've got to figure out the simplest way to get the information to your kids, all right, without confusing them so that when you go back to your normal power counter rules, for me in the spring, operating procedure, alignment, assignment is really important. I want our kids to know when we run power, when we run GT counter, when we run GY or GF counter, I want our kids to know exactly what we're doing, so you don't want too many addendums or too many adjustments to those schemes, all right, in the spring, because you're dealing with limited reps, you're dealing with some new players, some young players. You want to get everything installed to where you know they can line up and run the play. Okay, so I appreciate everything you guys do for Play Fast Football. If you're not a subscriber, click that subscribe button. Make sure you turn the notifications on. You know every time I do a video or go live. Thumbs up, thumbs down. If you like or don't like the content, leave a comment. I try and get back to everybody. I know this one will probably have a bunch of comments on it for what people do versus the tight front. Remember, we're talking about tight front in a spring game, not getting ready to play tight front or 3 or 4 tight fronts in the season and you're putting in a tight front game plan. We were not putting in a tight front game plan. Our spring plan was our spring plan. Okay, so keep that in mind. As always, I appreciate everything you do. Remember, you won't play well until you play fast. See you next time.